This table talk is made possible by Mighty With Migraine, a newsletter from themighty.com. Hello, everyone. I am Kat, and I am joined by.
I am Ashley.
I am Camara.
And today we are talking about losing friendships because of your health. When I was thinking about, I was like, friendship, yes, I want to talk about this. And then I realized that is way too big of a topic to talk about in a short little episode here. So I want to go with the losing friends angle or the fading friends angle. So there are multiple ways we can approach this, team. We can talk about from a mental perspective, from a physical perspective. We can talk about both. So Ashley, what you feeling?
Let's start with the physical reasons because I feel like I could probably sit on both of them forever. But we'll start there just because that one had a more solid start, which was really when got my cancer diagnosis. Truly, I did not. I thought it was kind of made up how people fade away when you get bad news, but wow, was that so apparent and so quick. It definitely did fade out a little bit. Like I had this really close group that then stayed with me right away. Some people who I was a little less close to kind of went away quickly, but then over time, even those close relationships seemed to break down. And really, what I can attribute it to, like looking back, is people didn't want to hear me talk about it anymore. They didn't want to hear that it was still hard because they also thought once I got that, there's no evidence of cancer left. They thought that was when I was going to be done thinking about it and it was going to be not affecting me anymore. And so that became a very apparent, like, I can't talk about it with people. And that's where those friendships faded. And then talking about all of the ramifications that came from that, which is having chronic illness, living with chronic fatigue, not being able to be the same friend that I used to be. Just that definitely has a kind of everlasting impact now. It's deciding how and when and why I can engage with friends, which is like a really hard way to think about friendships. So that was a lot, but I hope that that connects with you guys at all.
It does. I think that the one thing I do want to state, because I always get fearful of the idea that like people with health conditions are perfect. Like, I think it's important to state that like friendships are a two-way street. Like, for myself, I'm very well aware of like where I lack as a friend. And that's been something that's been really hard for me to deal with. Like, my social life at this point is pretty non existent, especially because right now I'm recovering from my 15th surgery, and this one in particular was really hard. I don't feel like I've had as much support as I've had in the past. I really feel like friends that I've had who have really supported me before have really come in and lifted me up, and I don't feel like I have that. So then I step back from that, and then I have to remember, but I'm also not reaching out, and I'm not reaching out because I'm not having the physical wherewithal to do so. So I do just want to say I do know I don't want to play the blame game, but I do want to recognize like the role that health does play, both the kind of conscious way and the unconscious way. What about you, Camera?
Yeah, I think from like a mental health aspect and having ADHD, how that has affected the way that I interact with friendships and the ways that I've lived with roommates and things that I've learned how to be a better roommate, a better friend, and also learning that some people are not going to stick around and be there for that either. And that's okay. That's been a really long time for me to learn that the people that walk away when you show that you have emotions or show that you are not perfect are not the people to keep in your life. I know back in high school when I didn't understand really what I was going through with panic attacks, I had a best friend who was very she had her own things she was dealing with, but she could not deal with anything that was not positive, upbeat, happy go lucky vibes. When she experienced me having my first panic attack, that basically became the catalyst of me losing a lot of my friends in my like junior year of high school and not understanding why that had happened and feeling very scared to share anything about like my therapy or like going to like the resource room for even my ADHD. And I feel like I've definitely found a balance of learning and having new friends who actually do understand, especially now in this like day and age as I've grown as a person, and like the people that I get to meet now and talk about my experiences and seeing the people who are comfortable with that calm vulnerability rather than the people who stay away from it, you find the people more. Whereas when I was younger, I was very hurt by it. And now I'm like, I feel like I've really found my people by being able to express and show more about my conditions with the people closest to me.
You bring up a really good point, and I'm really mad at myself that I did not find this article before we talked, but I read a article a while ago and it really stuck with me. And it talked about the fact that a lot of the times when our society frames the idea of friendships is we frame them as a lifelong relationship that we'll always have. But really, friendships are they can be seasonal. You can be really close with someone for a specific amount of time. Like, I think that work is a really great part, right? Naturally, the people that you talk to on a daily basis, like, tends to be who you're closer to. I've worked with people in the past who I still talk to them. I've worked with people in the past who I don't talk to now. And I think that sometimes like, it's not blaming is what I keep coming up with, but it's natural, I think. It's human nature for it to do that. And I think what you said also, which is shared experiences, Camera. Since I started working at the Mighty, especially, I've just noticed what a difference it makes in connecting with people who also have a health condition of any kind. It doesn't matter. But some type of the ability to understand has really, really helped. I don't know if you agree, Ashley, with that.
I would say so. I think, a lot of friendships when you're originally growing up are fully out of circumstance. And once, you're talking about work, that environment shifts, that environment changes, you aren't seeing people the same way. And so it can be really hard when, you're having a bout of chronic fatigue, say, and you can't hang out with your friends for the third month straight. It's hard because there, like you said, there's no blame there, but it's you can't show up in the friendship the way you want to, and that can be degrading on it over time, and that's very natural, even if it is, hard to go through.
I think the showing up thing is really important. How you show up for a friendship, how others show up, what you view as showing up. One of the things I've been thinking about lately, and like this is where I get really in my head, but sometimes I start to wonder if people are naturally like fading away, not in a malicious way, but because I sound like a broken record. Like something I've been really in my head about, like, especially the past 2 months, is people send me a text message. They say, "How are you?" And most of the time, I'm honest and I say I'm not doing well. And I do start to wonder if that is a reason why people fade away, because it is hard to constantly go to someone who isn't doing well, knowing, maybe you don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with it. Maybe that's not where you're at. I'm probably a little too in my head. I like to think the people that are close to me will understand that and try and support me, but that's something I think about a lot.
We have to learn like the balance of there are some friends who are not going to be the ones who are going to be there or who are wanting when they ask the how are you, like where are they coming from, like are they the friends who they know what your answer is going to be so they're there to hear it, or are they the ones who they're hoping for a nonchalant just conversational answer. I'm grateful to for I feel like a lot of my friends that were I either overly reach out thinking like I can expand and have like, oh my gosh, I'll have like a hyperfixation moment where I'm like, I want to be friends with everyone and I can start all these new friendships, and then I will taper off myself because I can't. The capacity of reaching back out and keeping that going is very hard, and so I can relate to not knowing how to respond. But then also there are the friends where I want to reach out, I want to like also say what exactly how I'm doing if I'm not in a good space, but you don't know how they're going to react. I think it's about finding those people. It's not even just the shared experiences. The one thing that I want to get across in this episode is that I have friends who I might not share every little detail or everything when I feel bad with them, but they don't have the same conditions I do, but they're still curious and they want to understand and be there when they can for it. I'm grateful for that.
Those are special people.
Yeah.
Hang on to those people. And actually, that's also a really great point. Is there are different levels of friendship, right? And we don't have to rule out. Like sometimes I do. I have this one friend, and like we just talk about superficial stuff. It's awesome. It's like usually exactly what I need. I don't really have to get deep in my feelings. Where then I have a couple of other people where like all I want to do is talk about my feelings, and maybe sometimes using the blanket term of friendship almost like degrades like the types of varieties of friendships that I can have. Ashley, I'm curious, do you have people in your life that you go to for different things?
Very much so, and that's definitely something that until very recently, I didn't even recognize that friendship isn't just a one size fits all definition. It's something that you can get different things out of different relationships. Not one person or every person that you want to be friends with has to be friends with you in the same way. And that was very freeing being able to tell myself that, because it is something I've realized over the years. When I was undiagnosed and having mental illness, I did a lot of things that would make me a crappy friend, which is what made me lose friendships. And it's really, really hard to recognize. It was also because I was trying to put all of that emotional weight on them, not intentionally. It's just I didn't have the clarity of mind to recognize what I was doing. And so looking back on it now, I can see the impact that that had of having this very one size fits all picture of friendships and not grasping as to why they were kind of going poorly.
That makes sense. I think one thing I really respect about you, Ashley, is you always like step back from situations and always have like very reflective words on it. And I feel like I've gone through periods in my life where I like feel really reflective and I could look back on the mistakes. I feel like right now in my life, I'm very viscerally feeling everything. Everything feels like a personal attack. And I guess that is the one thing I want to bring up is that the whole saying, it's like it's not you, it's them. Like if they don't want to be friends with you, that's like they're bad. And okay, and I actually hear Jess in my head going, and but my feeling is like it really hurts. It is really hard, especially if it's because of your health, which to be honest, I feel like it's the main reason why I have had a lot of separation in my friendships, since it's such a big part of my life. Sometimes feels like the only part, but it really sucks and it really hurts, even if you're trying your best to show up for other people. So I do want to acknowledge anyone who's like grieving a friendship or trying to like move past that it is a lot harder than just like putting the blame on someone else.
Friendship losses are honestly, I think, the hardest to get over. Whether it's a fade out friend, whether it's a real intense friend breakup, been through that. I feel like those really break you in more ways, especially if you haven't learned, still learning the boundaries of like what different types of friends can be for you. Like not every, like we were like you're saying, Ashley and Kat, like not there's no one size fits all for friends. There should be a different variety of friends in your life. Not that you need to have 500 friends or anything, but like knowing what kind of a friend the person can be for you, and also knowing that if that friendship was to not last, like that you are still whole and that there is still more for you out there after that too.
Friendship breakups. I don't think we have enough time to get into that, but I would love to talk at some point. I don't think I've ever actually had a friendship breakup where it was like very intensely stated.
No, I would agree with that, but it is a very strong, I have a lot of very strong feelings about friendship breakups. I can speak to that for days.
Could talk for a long time on that.
Anyone have any last tips, I guess, about how to either cope with it, how to process when friendships fade because of health?
I mean, I feel like I can speak to what you just said about me. Take a step back from the situation. It's really, really easy because you are part of that relationship. You are half of that friendship. It's really hard to, see clearly sometimes when you're feeling things. So step back, see where those issues are coming in. There are going to be things that are not solvable. There are going to be things that are, and it may be things that you personally have to work on. It may be some things that you discuss with a friend that doesn't feel good about your relationship. But try to step back because it's easier to think somebody else is doing something wrong when it could be yourself as well. But sometimes that's just a natural part of relationships too, and it's good to recognize it.
Yeah, I think it's finding that balance of it's like what you look for in a relationship. Like what are you looking for in a friendship with this person, and how can you show up and be a good friend to them? And if someone is not acknowledging your health or is dismissing that, whether it's physical health or mental health, really don't take that as a personal attack on you. Take that as something that they need to work on, and you maybe should know your own boundaries of the people that you want to allow in your life. You don't have to just be friends with people who have your same condition, but people who are open to understand, or that you're able to know the type of friendship that you have with them to continue it. So
It's almost like there's a place called the Mighty where you can meet people who share your conditions. Okay, one last thing that I just quickly wanted to get in there is like I want to end it on a pep talk, which is like you are worthy of having one good friend. I truly do not believe that anyone's health makes them wholly unlovable. I just refuse to believe that's a fact. I do believe that everyone has the hope out there of finding someone they connect with, and if you really feel alone right now, I just want you to know I'm holding up a very large heart with my fingers, and we are supporting you every step of the way. So if you want more conversations like this, subscribe to Mighty With Migraine by going to bit.ly/migraineinbox. That's bit.ly/migraineinbox. We'll see you in your inbox. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.